Okay. Hi, everybody. I have a bit of a voice upgrade going on, so I'm extremely hoarse, but I felt it was important to kind of get through this. So we are going to get through this today. And normally, almost all the time, when you have something you need to do, your body can get you through it, and then you kind of drop after that. And I might not have a voice for the rest of the day, but for now, I'll have it till we're done with this, and then I'll put my voice on hold. I already had to postpone some stuff for today because I was not going to be able to talk after this. But we are going to get through it. So, because I did want to come back because I missed Saturday because I was doing a class, and I wanted to kind of catch back up and talk about a couple things that we're kind of hitting today. And we are going to be doing kind of maybe a shorter one today, or it's going to be a little more simplistic. I don't know. It reminded me of, I don't know if you've ever heard of French makeup, which is, just what it sounds like. I'm sure the women that watch this will know what French makeup is. It's a very simplistic form of makeup, I guess, that women do in France. So they call it French makeup. So if you're doing a lighter version of anything, it's kind of like French makeup, or that's kind of what I'm going to call this. And it always reminds me, and I usually don't open with anything that funny, but it always reminds me of, I used to work with, anytime I hear French anything, I used to work with this company that had these men that were from France, and I was new there, and they always send the new person down. This was probably about, 14 years ago. They always send the new person down to talk to people about what they don't like about whatever's going on in the company, because they figure they'll be nicer to the new person than they will be to someone they know. So they always send down the new person to talk to them about what they don't like. So I remember I went down there, and the two French men, very thick, French accents, and they were talking about what they didn't like and what they weren't happy with. And they were like, they did not like the Wi-Fi. And they kept saying, we don't like the Wi-Fi, we don't like the Wi-Fi. So I was just like, I don't know what the fuck the Wi-Fi is. That's why you're writing it down. I'm like, they're unhappy with it. There's a part of me that wanted to be like, yeah, right, that Wi-Fi sucks. But yeah, I'm going to take that complaint right back up there. I remember I went back up there, and I was talking to a lady that worked there, and I was like, yeah, they don't like the Wi-Fi. And she's like, oh yeah, the Wi-Fi. They don't like the Wi-Fi. So anyway, that is just my one exposure to the French, and it was just so funny because they were so sweet, but they would always call it Wi-Fi. It took me forever to figure out that was the Wi-Fi. So anyway, so we are going to be doing this little simplistic today. We're going to pick just a couple of things. I'm going to try to stay on topic. I will open up the chat for a little while, but I don't know if my voice will hold out. We could do some questions, but I don't know if it will. So we'll try and see how we go. Okay. I wanted to talk about asking for assistance and why there's two sides to this when you're in your ascension process. And there's a part where you can't, we're going to show both sides of this. There's a part where you cannot ask anyone for assistance, right? And that goes when people will say something like, well, if you need anything, let me know. And we used to do the same thing. We would say that. I know I would say that. If you need anything, let me know. If you need anything, let me know. And there comes a time when you kind of have to sit on the other side of that. And you really have to look at something and see, okay, like if I'm looking at a situation, my highest aspect has to look at that situation and say, okay, what can I do here to assist? I don't want someone to have to ask me for it, right? What do I have that can assist in this situation? And once I can see what that is, I'm just going to do that. I'm not going to wait for someone to ask me to do that. I'm not going to wait for someone to say, hey, can you help me with this? If I can see it, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So it kind of leads us into kind of the topic we're going to play around with today, which is, what can you see you can do and you're not doing? Where do you ask that question? Where do you ask that question? Like, oh, if you need anything, let me know. Especially when you can clearly see that people could utilize something that you might have. And it doesn't even matter what it is. I mean, it could be anything. If you have something that you could assist somebody with and you're not doing it, and you're saying something like, well, if you need it, let me know, which is basically saying, I really don't want to give it to you. I don't really want to gift it to you. So if you need it, you let me know. But I have an idea, probably stuff I have that could assist you, but I'm not going to do that. And when we're in our human existence, we do that all the time. We'll kind of say that. We kind of put the onus on the other person to then come back and say, well, I could really use A, B, C, or D. And we're usually never surprised when we see that, because we already know they could have used A, B, C, or D. We just don't step up to do it. So there comes a time in all of our processes where we kind of have to step up and see, what can we do for someone, for something, an organization. It might be a person where you could see they could use this. When I used to live in, this neighborhood's a little different. When I used to live in different neighborhoods, I would just go out and shovel driveways for people that were older, or people that were really, a couple people that were really, really teeny. And I was, I'm bigger. So I was like, I can shovel that really quick for you. But I wouldn't ask, hey, if you want me to shovel your driveway, let me know. I would just do it, because that's kind of what we do for each other. We don't wait to be asked. If you're waiting to be asked, then you're holding back something, and you have to look at why you're holding it back. And it doesn't matter what it is. It can be anything. It could be a skill set you have. It can be money you have. It can be a car you have that could assist someone in that moment. But you don't do it, because there's something going on with us in those moments, right? There's something going on with us of why we don't want to offer it. We want to kind of hold it back for ourselves. We have a limit there. It's only so far willing to go. There's only so much willing to do. So we kind of want to ask someone, well, okay, if you need me, let me know. Because, 9 times out of 10, that person might never say, yeah, I could use assistance with this. Or yeah, I could use assistance with that. Now, there is a point where in human existence, some people will, and sometimes it turns where they're always asking for assistance and they're not doing anything to assist themselves in a sense. Like even if it's just someone asks you for your opinion on something and you give it, and they keep coming back and asking for the same opinion, and you've given it 100 times, but they don't utilize it, So there is a point where it kind of flips again. And that's the whole point with anytime you're dealing with vibrational existences. When you're dealing with vibrational existences, what feels aligned for you to do in one moment might not feel aligned for you to do in the next moment. But there is always that sort of core place we can get back to, where if I can assist someone in something, I'm just going to do it, as long as it doesn't become a crutch for them. And it's something they need to do themselves that they're not doing. There is so much more that we can do, but so much of us, and when we're really living from that human consciousness, we do it and we don't even really think about it in a sense. And none of this stuff we do, we kind of do maliciously. We don't do it because we're trying to be malicious, or we don't really, well, there is a core there we don't want to share, but we don't know that's what it is and we're doing it. We kind of want someone else to kind of hold us to task on something. We're kind of putting the ownership on another person, right? We're asking them, hey, you let me know, do this, do that. Let me know what you want me to do. Let me know this, let me know that. And there comes a time when, we have to be able to step up and say, I can see that I have all this stuff I can do for this person or this organization, and I have to do that. And I have to do that from my highest place. I can't hold back stuff because it's uncomfortable. And normally that's what'll happen. We'll start holding back stuff because it feels uncomfortable to us. It doesn't feel comfortable for us to share that. Or we'll have a limit on how much we're willing to share, how much we're willing to do. Are you willing to share your house? If you could see someone could use a place to stay. Are you willing to share your car? If you realize someone could use a ride. Are you willing to, share your money? If you realize, because money really is for all of us. It's like, it's a kind of a community thing in a sense. But when we're in our human existence, we don't see it like that. Money is the one thing that kind of separates people off from being really stepping into their power, because they kind of put the power in the money and they don't put the power in themselves. They'll hold back on stuff. And we're going to use money here because money's a big one for a lot of people. It's a big one. And that's where I'll see people go selfish the most when it comes to money, or what they value and what they won't value. And it doesn't really, to me, I've seen over the years, it really has nothing to do with how much something cost, in a sense. It's the value. And if someone thinks it's worth that, they'll pay that. It doesn't matter what it is. And COVID kind of flipped a lot of that on its side, in a sense, because so many people willing to overpay for stuff because they needed it and they couldn't get it. So they were willing to overpay. How many times do you kind of go online and look for the best coupon or the cheapest way you can buy it, or ask for discounts or all that kind of stuff? That's all from a very, I don't really know. I'm trying to figure out the best way to say this. It's all from a kind of a lack mentality, in a sense, especially if you have the money to pay the full price for it. But we don't want to do that because we kind of want to get it at the lowest price. And that's kind of human programming there. Now, there is a part of the process where we don't have a lot of money and we're trying to learn how to spend our money. And we will always kind of see that things will be offered to us at lower prices. And that's kind of a different part of the process, because it's just there for us. It's kind of given to us at these prices where people just gift us stuff. And it's not looking kind of for the lowest price. We're not going out of our way. It's just, this is how it is in this reality, because this is what's going to assist you the most. That you're always going to have what you need, and we're going to make sure that everything you need, that you can get it. But that does eventually start to flip. And we've kind of been in that mindset of looking for everything at the lowest price. And that is kind of a parallel to our human, which will always do that. It always wants to try to find everything at the lowest price. And what I have found is it doesn't really matter how much money people have. Normally people who have less will have less money. We're just going to use money, because money and abundance, they're not related in a sense. Abundance has nothing to do with money. Money, if people who have more money, normally I find they don't kind of want to part with it. They kind of still are working every angle with it. And the people who have less are more willing to gift more, because they also understand what that might feel like, because when we don't have a lot of those kind of material things, in a sense, it really brings our compassion out. It really gets us to connect with our compassionate place. And that's one of the reasons why we have to get taken to those places time and time again, because it activates compassion. You don't have that. You don't learn to really appreciate things, and you don't really have that compassion until you get to those places. Because a lot of people ask me, why does it have to end here all the time? Why do we have to get back here? And I don't ask myself that too. And there is a reason for that, because it does activate compassion. It does activate that part of us that wants to assist somebody else, without being asked to do it, without being asked to do this or do that. It's not something that we have to wait for. Because if we're waiting and we're holding back, that's on us. And I see so many people that, you can see people are supposed to do things. People are supposed to play in different realities. And you can see so many people kind of holding back because they have a limit on what they want to do. They have some program running on why they can't do that. But when they start closing down, it kind of closes down the whole reality, in a sense, because now someone else has to step up and do more, because everyone's not really doing their share. It's kind of like everyone else gets squeezed a little bit, because everything down the road gets squeezed. Kind of like when we play, it's one thing if you don't have the funds to pay your bills on time, you're kind of waiting for funds to come in to pay bills. But if you have the funds and you're not paying them, you're kind of waiting for the last day or waiting for whatever. There's a lot of lack energy in that, because you're also, you're kind of, now sometimes for us, sometimes things come at the very last minute to kind of get us over that programming of having it to be this date, and being really stressed out about the linear time thing. So sometimes for a while, money will come early, money will come later. And there's a kind of there's a lessons in that, in a sense. I hate to call it lessons, but it's kind of what it is. It's a lesson in that to kind of shake you out of your linear mentality that nothing's going to happen if that's 3 days late. Don't get so stressed out about that. Now, if you have the money and you're just not doing it, and you're going to kind of pinch everyone else down the line because now they were expecting the money here and now they can't do what they need to do, or, you know, and it keeps rolling. It just pinches everybody else because we don't want to do what we see we have to do, and everyone else gets pinched down the road. So you can kind of see how all these realities kind of get set up. All these realities get set up to where we kind of keep playing in them. And then when we stop playing in them, people don't really know what to do when they're dealing with people who don't kind of play by that the human consciousness anymore. You know, we don't play by those rules in a sense. We don't even see any rules. You know, if we value someone and we feel like money is something that's going to show that value, sometimes it's other things. Sometimes you can gift other things. It doesn't have to be money. It can be whatever you have to give. And that moment that you can see could really assist a person. You know, if I see someone and I have Andaras and I could see someone who could really use an Andara, I'll just gift them an Andara. And then just walk away. You know, what else needs to be said? Nothing. I don't want anything. Just here. This could help you and have fun with that. And it's funny to see the people who really can't accept that. They don't want to kind of accept the gift or feel uneasy about it because it triggers all of their stuff. When you give people that stuff, it kind of triggers all of their stuff where they kind of start feeling that the uncomfortableness of the worthiness of receiving things. And they want to either overcompensate by continuing to talk to you or seeing you the next day and continue to tell them what they're doing with it or whatever, or they don't really know what to do because they're kind of dealing with something they're not used to. They're dealing with someone they're not used to. They're dealing with an energy they're not used to. And that's because we do have to come from the highest place. You know, we know all the illusions that we see and we know that's all they are. Now, technically, every reality we build is an illusion. Even the higher, amazing heaven illusions we build, they're still illusions. They're realities, but still illusions. So, no matter what we're doing, everything we build is sort of, it's still not real. It's just funner to play in that illusion than some of the other illusions. So, really look at what you're not willing to do. Look where you are kind of spending a lot of your energy looking for the lowest price in something. And I know I've caught myself doing that and I'm like, what am I doing? But sometimes we get so used to doing that when we don't have to do that anymore, we can still kind of find ourselves kind of having to kind of break that pattern now. Because now we got in a pattern of not wanting to waste money. But there's also a point of honoring people and honoring what they do. You know, honoring the time they spend, you know. You see that a lot now in a lot of the virtual stuff. I notice in a lot of the YouTube people that I'll watch, you know, they have different things set up where people can support. And you can look at the number of people who watch their stuff and the number of people that actually support the channel. And it's usually like a very small percentage. And you have like maybe, you know, I'm going to make up a number, but 10% supporting everybody. And then everyone gets pinched down the way in a sense. So just really be honest with yourselves on what you can do and what you have the ability to do and what you're kind of holding back on. When you say those words, if you need anything, you let me know. If I can help, you let me know. Those are kind of words where we're kind of putting it on someone else. And which is going to kind of lead me into the next topic where when someone says that to me, I can't say, when someone says that to us, when you're in a certain space in consciousness, you can never truthfully say, yeah, I need this, and this. Because I don't need anything. Everything I require is going to be there, right? So it's kind of like being in a big room of requirement in a sense, like in Harry Potter. Everything I require is going to be there. I don't technically, if I actually, air quote, needed it, then it would be there. If I don't have it, there's a reason. And if you can see you have it and I could utilize it, I just give it to whoever, you know. I'm using me as an example here. I didn't really mean to, but just for the point of the story. So we really can't ask. So I have a lot of people that will say, oh, if I could do anything for you or whatever, let me know. You can't really say anything. Because one, there's nothing you really require. So you have to kind of let those people kind of go and try to figure it out in a sense on oh, there is something I could do for this person. Oh, there is something I could do for that person. But we technically can't, we're never going to ask for that because we technically don't really need anything. But there are things you could do to make it easier for other people. And there's always stuff we can do to make it easier for other people, to make their journey easier. We just kind of won't do that. We kind of want them to ask for that. But there is a part where we really can't ask for that. We're always going to hear the same thing. And I can speak for me in this journey. Other people can kind of comment on how they feel about it. But I always say, no, I'm good, which is true. That's it. There's nothing more really to say about any of the other. There's no really more story about that because that's really it. I'm doing great, thanks. And people will step up when they get to a certain consciousness to understand. And it's also kind of when we're going through where you see so many people not stepping up, and you see people that are supposed to be doing stuff and they're kind of not there yet. They're not doing it yet. It also is kind of that karmic payback for all the times we did the same thing. There's a lot of that goes on with that too. There's a zillion reasons why we go through certain things like this, and you can kind of see all this start to play out. But there are so many times that we had to go through kind of the same thing. We did the same stuff. And when we've done the same stuff, remember, your reality is created by not just what you've done in this existence. It's created by every existence you're playing in right now. Every existence you're in is going to affect the present moment you're in. It's not just this one. That's why sometimes things feel so much bigger than other things. They feel so much bigger. They feel so much more gravity to them because it's not just this one moment. It's all the moments that led to this moment in all your existences that are leading to what you're doing, what you're clearing, why you're doing certain things. So don't get so bogged down on it has to be something I did in this existence. It's stuff you've did in all your existences. And a lot of our existences, we weren't the nicest people. Some of them, we were not nice at all. Some of us get a peek at those and we're like, holy crap. We're kind of like this. We're like, oh my God, I can't believe I was that so mean. I can't believe I was that. We get usually a glimpse of it in our dream state. First, we'll see us and we're like, oh God, we're terrible. Even if it's more of the magical realities where you were like really corrupt mermaids and stealing shit and stuff. You can see some very distorted stuff, where we really abused different power sets we have, which goes into why we don't want to feel really powerful now. A lot of that trickles down too. It's not just in the clearing process. It's a lot of that stuff kind of builds up and it kind of makes up your DNA. And don't do that again. You don't want to step in to be your powerful self again because, you screwed that up so bad last time. You don't want to go through that again. So there's a zillion reasons why we kind of hold back things. We don't want to gift things, even if it is just the gift of ourselves, just to put ourselves in a situation where we think we can be of assistance to someone. We don't have to say anything. Maybe just go somewhere and you your vibration's as high as in that moment you can get it, and you just want to share that with people. And you don't have to say a word. It can be just that easy. But in our human realities, we kind of had to look for that big thing. I see so many people will say, oh, but I want to be doing this big thing. And I'm like, in the beginning, we don't do the big thing. We don't get the big things. One, we're not in a place to do the big things yet. We're not in a DNA place to do the big things yet. We're not really ready to do the big things yet because we can't hold the consciousness that would support the big things. No, we're not there yet. But we have to start to do the little things. Because if we can't do the little things, you don't need to worry about the big things. If you can't connect with one person, don't worry about connecting with 400,000 people. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. What matters is that one person. And that connection with one person. And the rest of it really doesn't matter. So I am going to I'm going to go ahead and open up my chat and see if I have anything. Oh, hello. I'm feeling fine. Thank you for asking. And my voice is sort of back today. A little bit back. Yesterday, I didn't have a voice. I had zero voice yesterday because I'm going through a respiratory, an upgrade, which I always call them upgrades because your body's clearing. We go through an emotional clearing Well, for me, it's usually emotional. Then the physical stuff will come. We'll have respiratory. That's a lot of grief energy, leaving old timelines. It can just be a lot of that stuff that's not aligned with where we're going. So it has to clear the body. Or my voice is upgrading. I'll get this where my voice will be offline for a while. And I can't really talk too much. Because we also have, I think I talked before about activating the crystal in your throat, and I've been doing a lot of that lately, so I have a feeling that's what kind of led to the crystal popping, and now my throat's inflamed, and this is what happens. But every time we kind of come out the other side of any of these, whether it's an big emotional clearing, or you're into the physical body stuff, you're going to see things you didn't see before. You're going to be in a new experience. You're going to technically be in a new reality, because now your body's setting in a different vibration because you cleared all that stuff. It's not as heavy. Your body doesn't feel as heavy. That's about the only other way I can probably describe it. And it's how I feel about it. And I don't do that much stuff on body stuff. There's a lot of people out there that talk a lot more about light body and how your body goes through different clearings and different phases of clearing, and some stuff I've gone through. Eye upgrades are really, I kind of feel like everyone goes through you have to go through some sort of body upgrade, and it can be painful. Some people are in a lot of pain. Some people aren't in as much pain. It kind of depends on how many times you've bodied in. I like that, bodied in better than kind of come in, If you bodied in and you have a lot of existences where your body's been clearing over existences, it can not be as severe for some people as others, where this is your one time and you're going to ascend and go in one time and you're going to ascend, and you got everything to work through because you haven't had all those existences prior. You have them now, but you haven't had as many, in a sense. So, you got to do it quicker, and you got to do it all at once. And those people can go through just absolute hell with their body over years and years and years and years. I think it depends on how much you're moving your body. There's a lot of things that go into that. So I never like to sit here and say someone's body stuff is going to be really hard and someone's going to be easier. It also kind of depends on the kind of the situation you set up for yourself. I can't go through a lot of too rough of body stuff because I also do all my realities. So if I can't go out and do things, there's no one else here to do them. Other people will go through harder parts of their physical ascension, the more the physical stuff, when they have people there, they have partners there to kind of help with some of the other stuff, kind of keep things kind of going around the home. So it's all going to depend on kind of what you set up for yourself. I also can look back, and a lot of us can, and say that I was in a lot of health stuff in like the 2000s when I did have a husband at that time that kind of helped me, that could do stuff while I was kind of going through it, even though I didn't know that's what I was doing. I didn't know what was going on. My whole body was just going haywire, but I didn't really know what it was. So a lot of us kind of will go through that. We'll kind of go through some of the body stuff, and we kind of go back to sleep, unconscious for a while, and then we'll come back later. And we'll kind of start awakening up later. So we don't continue to, go through it all at once. And some people did it that way. So, it's going to depend, but all of us kind of will go through stuff. Crystals, we have crystals all over our body. Those crystals pop. We get super itchy skin. We have, density on our bones that has to clear. You can have some, when your heart's opening, you can have a lot of the heart stuff going on. COVID was a big grief clearing for a lot of people. Because, they'll kind of call things pandemics when everyone gets hit with the same stuff. Everyone has, air quotes, symptoms when certain frequencies hit the earth. They kind of call it energy, and I'll do the same. But it's frequencies hitting the earth, and what it's triggering in you is what it's triggering in you. But if certain frequencies are hitting the earth and it's triggering similar things in large groups of people, well, now in a human consciousness, that's a pandemic. And in a different consciousness, it's just a collective clearing. So, but it's not true. In a human consciousness, that's how they would identify it. So in that consciousness, it is true. But in higher consciousness, that's what they think is going on isn't really going on. It's just kind of a different perception of how you look at it. And when you can see the higher perceptions of it, different perceptions of it, you kind of can see how the whole reality got constructed and how it gets kept going. by different things you see all the time and how they're trying to kind of keep a lot of this stuff going. You know, anytime we start identifying with any type of symptom or any type of, air quote illness, we kind of get boxed into that in a human, kind of in that human existence. So you have to really get to a point where you can look at it from a lot of different places. In the beginning, you might not be able to do that, and that's okay. You know, I never say to people, oh, you know, don't go to your doctor. Sometimes our doctor is the higher aspect of us in that moment. It will come a point where I do feel everyone's going to get to that place where they're not anymore, because if they're in a human consciousness, they can't tell you about what's going on with your body when your body's upgrading to, you know, a galactic being or kind of a hybrid being in a sense, and your body's changing and you're able to do different things. Whereas if you're in a human consciousness in a human body, you can't do those things, but your body does change too. And a lot of people kind of skip over that because they haven't gone through that part of the process yet. But you know, eye upgrades are big. They were really big for me back in like 2010, 2011. I didn't realize that's what I was doing, but they were big. I had another big one in 2017. And I've had a lot kind of along the way. I had a little minor one last week. You know, crystals kind of pop in your eyes and your eyes will get cut. I've had that happen. Some people have their retinas detached when a big enough crystal erupts in their eye. Everything is related to consciousness. Everything does get back to what your body is trying to do. We just don't kind of let our body get through the process. You know, we don't kind of allow our body to kind of go through to the end. You know, we want to kind of rush it. We want to kind of cut it off. We want to, you know, go do something to make it go quicker. We don't want to be inconvenienced by it. So we kind of have to kind of get through all that and know that it's better just kind of let it kind of it run its course in a sense. And then we kind of get through that upgrade, and then we can go on to the next phase, because all the upgrades we go through are pivotal to the next part of our process. You know, it's a time to kind of get excited because your body's getting to a higher vibration, which that's what means you can really start anchoring in higher vibrational realities, because your body's setting higher now. So the body stuff is super important. Like I said, I don't go into too much of the body stuff. You can Google the light body. There's tons of people that will go in depth on light body stuff and light body support. I just never felt like a lot of the information I'll get when I get it, I'll, you know, talk about it, but if it feels appropriate, but I don't go too much into it because I feel like a lot of people have gone through so many iterations of it, and their journey was to go through that so they could share that type of information about this process. So I kind of let them talk about that, because that feels to me more what they were supposed to bring through in a sense, because we all kind of bring through it's all similar in a sense, because you're just tapping into one consciousness. We all have a different way of saying it. We all have different things we kind of feel like we're there to do. You know, different people we're there to bring through, different people we're supposed to connect with. You know, we're kind of all gridded all around the world, and we're all kind of doing, but we're all connected. We're just kind of might be doing it in a different way, or going one way about it or the other way about it. That's why so many people gravitate to so many different people. And we have to have so many different people out there doing it, because if you don't, you know, so many people miss out on someone they can really connect with. That's why I always tell people, you know, no matter what you feel like you can do or share, someone's waiting for you. There's someone out there waiting for you to say and speak up. There's someone out there waiting for you, you know, to kind of get going and get out there. And even if you don't want to, because there's a lot of people have a lot of fear about getting out there and talking about stuff that might seem weird or might seem kind of, you know, off the mark. When you talk about, you know, body upgrade, you talk about crystals popping and, you know, crystals in your throat or a dream portal in the back of your skull and all those kind of, you know, things that people might, oh, that sounds weird. You know, it's easier to come out, you know, about any type of sexual orientation now than it is to come out about this. You know, at least you feel like people would understand that. At least they know what that is. When you talk about some of this stuff, it's like, well, hell, people don't know what that is. But it does speak to them on some level, even if they don't consciously know that. You know, on some level, you're kind of getting in there, and it just kind of activates them in some way. You know, it activates them to a part of their process that they're going through, and something that they're going to be able to kind of remember, and when they get to a part of their process where it's really rough. So if you're going through the ice stuff right now, I know I had a kind of a minor one. It's pretty minor compared to some of mine. And I have seen a lot of the eye stuff, because also we go through the eye stuff because it kind of takes our physical eyes offline. So we open up the third eye more, and we start to we stop looking through our physical eyes to see, because we have blurry vision, or, usually everything I'd have going on with my eyes, my eyeglasses weren't updated and I couldn't wear contacts, and I just couldn't freaking see. That's usually how it played out for me. Because our third eye has to come online. And we have to see that the physical eyes show us this, just in the beginning, they're just lies. All through it, a lot of times, they're just lies. So everything kind of has to upgrade at one time. It kind of has to purify your physical eyes, bring your third eye online. So you're really seeing through your third eye. Your physical eyes are seeing things, but your third eye is understanding them. It's processing the information. You're going to put it together a different way. That's why the eyes got to go offline for a while. And you might be offline for, a few weeks, a few days, and then all of a sudden it's back online. Eventually your eyes will kind of, if you don't have 20/20 vision, eventually through enough DNA repair, the longer you go through the ascension process, you eventually get back to where your eyes will start to kind of, I don't want to use the word heal, but they will kind of go back without any assistance in seeing. So they will kind of regenerate in a sense on their own. A lot of people will say, I might have done it a little bit, but I haven't seen a massive shift. I know mine haven't gotten worse. They've kind of tapered off, and I do see a little bit of improvement, because all this takes time. And people act like, it can heal immediately. And I do think there is a time. It can take years of process to kind of get a lot of this stuff to where it can revert back. Just like when people were getting the LASIK surgery years ago, a lot of people, all of a sudden, it just reverted back to what their eyesight was before the LASIK. I know quite a few people that happened to, or something happened after, and they had to go back to, wearing whatever they're wearing, because you're trying to kind of interfere with the process in a sense, and you weren't going to be able to do that. So I usually talk a little bit more about the eye upgrades, because it's such an important part of the process that everyone will go through it in some shade, because your eyes have to go offline so you start to see through your third eye. And it's really important part of the process, because it's a vulnerability too, and we can't see. But we feel like the vulnerability is in not being able to see with our physical eyes, when truly we start to understand later the vulnerability is not being able to see with our true eye, which is our third eye, right? So sometimes I would kind of, tap on mine to kind of get it open, and I'll kind of mess around with it sometimes, but mine will kind of just start pulsing. It'll tingle. I can feel when mine's going crazy. Some people can't feel that yet. I could always kind of feel mine. I know children will kind of say they can see three. They'll see three eyes. Or they'll say you just have one big one right here. Because kids can kind of see through. They can see through the illusion. They don't believe it either. Because they can see the multiple layers on top and the behind. It's kind of like a really thin veil for children until we kind of lull them back to sleep in a sense. I'm telling them it's not really real, or they start to believe it's not really real, but they kind of get lulled back. But it's very important to kind of stop believing in those physical eyes and understanding, yeah, it's showing you a picture, but your third eye is the one that really has to look at that picture and see, what's really going on. Well, it's all an illusion. What part of this illusion am I going to take forward? What part is just bullshit and not true? So if you're in the eye stuff, no, it's important. It is a big part of the process to kind of go through that, because you have to get the physical eyes offline. Now back to your eyes, kind of going back to your original sight, as far as, a lot of people say they don't 100% get back to 20/20. They might not 100% get all the way back. I have heard some people say that are, farther along in that process. So I guess you're going to have to wait and see on that and see what happens for you. How long do they get back? Because there is a part where it was kind of explained where you kind of you just kind of get used to everything being a little blurry. You kind of don't put as much stock into the physical world when it is a teeny bit blurry, but it will kind of go back to where it needs to be, for you. So you might get back to 2030 or 2025, but you might not exactly get back to 2020. That's going to kind of depend. I hate to say any absolutes with any of the physical body stuff, because it just depends on where you are, how much of the journey you're really gonna kind of, go forward with. So, okay, I have a little bit more left in my voice. If anyone has a question, I will be happy to answer it. I think I can go a little bit longer. Because like I said, when we have to get through, we can bring it through, and my voice feels okay. So I will give that about a few minutes because I do have a delay on here, which I sometimes forget that there is a little bit of a delay on here as far as asking questions. So trying to think of any other body stuff. A lot of people get the hip stuff, and that sometimes that can also be with not wanting to move forward. Right side's always going to be what a human's going to see as the future. Your left side's always going to be what the human will see as the past. Look at what side you sleep on at night. You sleep on the right side, you're clearing future timelines. Left side, you're clearing past timelines, even though there are technically no future and no past. If you're sleeping on your back, you're trying to connect. You're connecting with higher aspects. If you're sleeping on your stomach, you're more in a nurturing mode. So we can kind of also see where we're sleeping. A lot of people will try to change it to sleep on one side or the other. But I will tell you, your body's going to revert back to where it wants to be. Your body knows what it's doing. It knows what it wants to do. It knows what it's trying to do. That's why you can't really judge food or what kind of food you want. Because that's going to change too, all along the way. It's going to change. You might want sugar. People say, oh, don't eat sugar, but you have to eat sugar. Sugar is what activates the soul body, is you have to eat sugar. I can eat so much sugar and chocolate. Now, there is a time when meat has to go for everybody, because meat does have a death energy, and the more in tune you get, you won't be able to do it. It'll kind of be too much for you. Now, I can speak on, I had taken thyroid medication for, 20 years, I think. So there came a time back a couple years ago where I knew I had to go off of it. So a lot of people will kind of feel like they have to go off of things because it's starting to hamper what the body's trying to do. So I might have had a week or two where I knew, you kind of just know your body's saying you go off of this for a week. And I would do that. So you kind of have to trust how you feel about and what you feel about doing. And then I felt like, okay, I need to start kind of weaning off of it. So sometimes your universe will give you a chance to kind of wean off of things and go get slowly off of it. And that's what I've been doing with the thyroid medication I've taken for a while. For the past couple of years, I've just been weaning it down to where I won't need it anymore. My body would have repaired enough that I won't need to take it. So you can be going through that where you're just weaning off stuff. Your body will kind of tell you don't need to do that anymore. And it's funny, when I would mention that to anybody, they'd be like, well, what did the doctor say? And I'm like, I don't know. It doesn't matter. It's what I want to do. It doesn't really matter what they say, in a sense. And like I said, you have to know how you feel on that. If you have a lot of fear on doing something, sometimes the doctors will speak the fears back. Sometimes you have to go through the fear with it. In a sense, and say, okay, I'm not going to do this. Okay, it feels appropriate to do that. You really have to kind of get in that place to know. Like, I knew for me, I had to wean it out off of it. Like, I had to wean off of it. There was a part of me that wanted to do it faster. My human then got involved and wanted to do it all at once and quicker. And in that moment, the doctor I work with was saying, well, you don't need to go that fast. Go slower. And this is once you can start weaning first and then go to this. And that felt like, okay. And in that moment, she's now acting as a higher aspect of me, getting my human out of the way to say, yeah, do it like this. This is how you need to do it. Do it slowly, and maybe go slow in the first year or so and then pick it up later because your body's going to start moving faster later. And I could see an improvement on doses I was on before where, because you get to the point where, I can read all my lab results. I don't need anyone to read them for me. We get very empowered on what we can do. It's like, I don't need anyone to read my stuff. I can look at it. I get the test done. I can read it. I know what it says. I know what I need to do. I know where my body wants to set. And I don't need anyone to kind of go through that for me. So, we're all kind of have to get to that. We can't be dependent on anybody, which kind of goes back to the beginning conversations. If we can't really be dependent on people to show us or tell us what to do, or, it's kind of like we talked earlier about, let me know if you need anything. It almost feels like it's a carrot people dangle in a sense. Like, oh, if you need this, let me know. And that's kind of why we can't play in that energy. We know we can't play in that energy of carrots dangling. If you need any help, let me know. Because we just can't be involved in that. We can't be involved in that energy. So I think on that note, we will end today. But I hope my voice wasn't too rough to listen to. I'm gonna have to listen back to it and see. I kind of sound like Katharine Hepburn. I have a raspy voice going. So okay, bye.